Okay, think about your morning ritual for a second. Does your day really start before that first sip of coffee? Yeah, for so many of us, that moment is absolutely essential. But what if that same cup of coffee that gets us going is also kind of quietly messing with how we handle stress? Today, we're going to dive into the fascinating double-edged sword of our favorite morning drink. And this right here is the big question, isn't it? Is that daily coffee a cure for your stress, or is it actually one of the causes? It's a bit of a paradox. So let's break it down and find out what's really going on. All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we need to get on the same page about what stress and resilience really mean. Then we'll look at the foods that can weaken us, and, more importantly, the ones that build us up. After that, we'll get into the super complex role of caffeine, and we'll wrap it all up with a clear path to finding a healthy balance. So let's start right at the beginning. We all use the phrase, "I'm so stressed out." But to get how our diet plays into it, we've got to understand what stress is on a biological level. And trust me, it's a whole lot more than just feeling tense. You see, at its core, stress isn't just a reaction to bad things. It's your body's response to any kind of change. It's called a general adaptation syndrome. So whether you get a promotion at work or you miss a flight, anything that nudges your body out of its happy, stable internal balance, its homeostasis, that triggers the stress response. It's a survival mechanism, pure and simple. And that brings us to this really crucial idea, stress resistance. You can think of this as your body's superpower. It's the ability to manage your energy reserves to adapt to all those changes effectively. When your stress resistance is high, you can handle life's pressures without totally burning out.
Okay, so if stress resistance is like a battery, what drains it? Let's talk about the bad guys in this story, the common things in our diet that can act like hidden stressors, slowly chipping away at our precious ability to adapt.
So when we look at what weakens our resilience, a few main culprits pop up. Things like alcohol and all those artificial additives, dyes, preservatives, sweeteners. They can definitely throw our system out of whack. But the most interesting one, the most complicated one, is the one so many of us rely on every single day, caffeine. Let's really zoom in on that. So how does caffeine actually create stress in the body? Well, it's a chemical thing. While it's making us feel sharp and alert, it can also overstimulate the parts of our brain that are responsible for processing threats. It's basically like turning the volume dial way up on your internal alarm system. And that feeling of being on high alert all the time, yeah, that's what we experience as anxiety. So where's the tipping point? Well, the general guideline from the European Food Safety Authority is about 400 milligrams a day for most adults. What does that actually look like? Well, it's roughly 4 standard cups of coffee. Now, once you start going beyond that, studies show a really significant link to increased anxiety. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. Let's totally flip the script and talk about the heroes of our story, the foods that can actively build up our defenses and give our stress resistance a serious boost. And we have 3 main champions in our corner here. Fiber and fermented foods. They're amazing. They nourish our gut, which in turn sends calming signals straight to our brain. But the one we're going to focus on today is a powerful inflammation fighter, omega-3 fatty acids. Now, check this out, because this is where things have gone a little sideways. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors, they had a really healthy balance of these fatty acids, around a 2-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. But in our modern Western diet, that ratio has just skyrocketed. We're talking as high as 17-to-1. That huge imbalance is pretty much a perfect recipe for chronic inflammation. And here's why that really matters. That inflammation doesn't just make your joints ache, it directly affects your brain. So by boosting our intake of anti-inflammatory omega-3s, from stuff like fatty fish or flax seeds, we can literally calm that inflammation down. And in turn, that can help reduce both the physical and the mental feelings of anxiety. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so we've seen how caffeine can act as a stressor, but this is where the plot thickens. Because it turns out caffeine isn't just some simple villain. It actually has a surprisingly beneficial side, and understanding that is the key to using it wisely. So how does caffeine actually wake us up? Well, it's a master of disguise. See, throughout the day, this molecule called adenosine builds up in your brain. When it plugs into its receptors, you start to feel tired. But here's the trick. Caffeine looks so much like adenosine that it can slide right into those same receptors and block them. I mean, just look at the chemical structure. It's the perfect imposter. By squatting in those receptors, it literally prevents the real adenosine from delivering its "hey, it's time to get drowsy" message. And that simple act of blocking is the whole secret. Caffeine isn't really giving you energy, it's just hiding how tired you actually are. And this is the best part of the whole trick. When adenosine is blocked, it lets other neurotransmitters, especially dopamine, the feel-good or motivation hormone, work more freely. They get to have a bigger effect. And that is exactly why a cup of coffee doesn't just wake you up. It often gives you that very real, tangible mood lift. And hey, this isn't just a feeling we have. It's backed up by solid research. A recent study in the journal Scientific Reports found that while caffeine boosted a bunch of positive emotions, the feeling of enthusiasm saw the strongest and most consistent jump. It's a direct link to those energized, positive moods we chase. So, what we have here is a classic double-edged sword. Caffeine can be a stressor, but it can also be a mood booster. The big question is, how do we get all the benefits without the drawbacks? Well, it all comes down to making informed choices and finding the right balance for you.
And it really comes down to 4 simple steps. 1, know your limit. Stick to under that 400 milligram guideline. 2, time it right. That mood boost is way more effective in the morning, ideally within 2.5 hours of waking up. 3, listen to your body. Seriously, your genetics play a huge role in how sensitive you are. What works for your friend might not work for you. And finally, number 4, see the big picture. You can't out-caffeinate a bad diet or a lack of sleep. It's just one piece of a much larger puzzle. So, what's the ultimate takeaway here? It's not about forcing yourself to quit coffee forever. It's about being mindful. The real goal is just awareness, knowing how, when, and why you're reaching for that cup, so you can make sure it's working for you and not against you. When you think about it, all of our small daily rituals, they add up. Over time, they write the story of our health and our well-being. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you've seen both sides of caffeine's story, what story will you choose to write tomorrow?